Of course, before we start programming your robot, you need to build a robot. Since this course is designed primarily for teachers, I'm going to be demonstrating things using a robot that was built according to the directions that came in this educational booklet that came with the educational version of the kit. If you've lost your booklet or you have the commercial version, don't worry about it. Our resources page has links to LEGO websites where you can download the instructions for both the educational and the commercial kits. We also have links to other websites that offer free designs for building NXT robots. Remember, the heart of your robot is the NXT brick. It's pretty much where everything happens. You plug your sensors and motors into it, and it's going to be running those programs that you write that sense and or do things. So what is a LEGO robot? Well, it's just the NXT brick plus some sensors and motors and a bunch of LEGO blocks. Before we go on, it's probably worth mentioning that once you build a robot that includes an NXT brick, many people, myself included, sometimes get a little bit wishy-washy with their language and use the terms NXT brick and robot somewhat interchangeably. For example, technically speaking, the only part of the robot that we ever connect to your computer is the NXT brick. Remember, it's the NXT brick that has the socket where we can plug in the USB cable. But once your NXT brick is a part of a robot, it certainly seems reasonable to say that you're connecting your robot to your computer. Similarly, technically speaking, we'll be recharging the NXT's battery, but many people just say they're recharging their robot. From my perspective, this isn't a big deal. Feel free to use the technical language or the more informal language. But it is important that you understand that when someone tells you to do something with your robot, like connect your robot to your computer, most of the time, the part of your robot that's involved will be the NXT brick. Okay, so it's almost time to build your robot. If you've never followed the building directions in a LEGO kit before, there's a few things you should know. LEGO directions are almost entirely graphical. Presumably, they leave the words out so that the book can be understood regardless of the language spoken by the user. A project generally starts out with a picture of the final item to be built. Then, for each step, you'll see a list of the number and types of the parts that you need. This 4X means that we need 4 of these little black connectors. And this 3 in a circle indicates that the part is 3 LEGO studs, that is, 3 of the round connector bumps, long. Measuring LEGO studs can be a pain, so the directions often include actual size diagrams of some of the parts. If a part is shown on the page with the 1-to-1 notation, that means you can lay the actual part on top of the picture to measure it. It's a very good idea to hunt for all the parts that are listed before you begin each step. I find it useful to have a plastic bowl around when I'm building, and I just put all the parts for the upcoming step together in the bowl. Then I'm less likely to lose them. Finally, once you've got all the correct parts for this step, you can follow the step-by-step building instructions, which will show you how to construct each piece. 2 other things you should know about. This switcheroo icon means flip the piece that you're currently working on over. And finally, the 2X in this building instruction means follow these directions 2 times. In other words, you need to make 2 sets of these things. By the way, LEGO takes great care in making these parts lists. If you're asked to find 2 things that look like this first picture, LEGO means exactly like this, and something that looks like the second picture won't work. LEGO directions are very specific about the color, shape, and size of the parts that they ask you to use. What if you can't find a part in your kit? In my experience, if you have a brand new kit, there's a better than 99% chance that the part is actually in there and you just can't find it. So look again and again, and then get one of your students to look for you. It probably is in there. If you're genuinely missing a part, you can contact LEGO for a replacement. I do have one important warning, however. Some NXT educational kits included a few parts that look slightly different in color or in shape from the descriptions in the book. So how do you know if you got one of these kits? If your kit has some substitutions, then you'll find an equivalency chart on page 2 of the booklet. If you don't see this chart on page 2, then you don't have to worry about this at all. But if you do see the chart, how do you interpret it? Well, this example means whenever we tell you to use a black piece, like the one on the left, you should really use a blue piece that looks like the one on the right. It's not wonderful, but you'll get used to it. Phew. Okay, it's time for you to get started playing with the Lego itself and building a robot. If you have the educational set, you should first sort all the parts into your trays and then get started building the basic robot base found in your book. This robot includes motors, but no sensors for the moment. I've got two different versions of the instruction book, but in both books, the directions start on page 8 and continue through to page 22. Here's what those pages look like. If you have the commercial set, then I recommend you build the TriBot. You can find a link for the instructions to build the TriBot on the resources page.